Welcome to Valley Viewpoint. I'm Roger Johnson. My guest is Donna Chinn. She is and is continuing to be a cancer survivor, and we're delighted that you are here on Valley Viewpoint, Donna.
Thank you, Roger.
I have known your parents for many years and known you through them, and you're a dietitian.
I am.
And when I found out that I was part of the shock that a diagnosis came to you, and share that story and help our viewers know what Donna went through.
I had just returned home from a hiking holiday. I had been up in Banff National Park. I went pretty much every year. Came home on Friday, and on Monday I lost my voice. And the shortest version of that is 3 weeks later I said, this is enough, laryngitis. I don't have any other symptoms. I need to find out why.
3 weeks later, you still didn't have a voice.
And I worked at a clinic as a registered nurse, and my boss sent me for a chest x-ray, and that's where they found the lung tumor. And from there it was just more and more discovery of where this cancer had gone and metastasized to, and then finding treatment and finding people that understood the disease well enough to treat it. So it was basically a very traumatic experience for those surrounding me. For reasons beyond me, the Lord gave me peace, and so I was never traumatized. I mean, I'm pretty much someone who wants to be told the facts, and then I can face them. So it was basically that simple. You know, I lost my voice. We found out why, and it was a surprise that it was lung, because I, like many, associated that with smokers. And of course, I'd never been around smoking. I had never smoked in my life, and lived in Los Angeles for a few years, but not significant, I didn't think, for developing lung cancer. But anyway, so that's basically the beginning of it all, and that was back in the fall of 2014.
So, quite a few years in the development of this diagnosis, the shock of it. Who told you? What was the setting like?
Well, this is going to be true confessions. I went to a local clinic for my chest x-ray, and I ended up waiting around because I wanted to take back the report to my boss. And the young lady there asked me if I wanted to talk to the radiologist, and I said, sure. So when I went in to speak with her, she seemed quite nervous, and of course I didn't understand it. And she pointed out the tumor, and she told me I needed to have a CAT scan right away. And I thought, okay, I'll wait. I'm a cash pay patient, so I'll just wait a little bit. I'll go talk to my boss first. So I went back, and she tells me that she had pulled herself together in order to, because she had spoken to the radiologist before I got there. So so I knew basically what they thought I had was called a Pancoast tumor, but it had metastasized. So I was stage 4 from the get-go. We didn't know all of that quite yet, because the CT scans actually revealed that. But that's how that came about, and actually the full diagnosis was a couple of weeks later after a biopsy, and tissue samples had been sent out and whatnot, and that was done by a thoracic surgeon who basically, very, very kind man, was clearly upset to come in and tell this to me, because my family was close to him, which is the reason that I got into him. And I felt bad for him because by the time he told me, I already knew, because I'm somebody that I read my reports before the doctor gets to me, and that's true confessions. I'm always looking at my labs and my reports generally before I go and talk to the physician about them.
And you have the professional background, at least a nursing degree, and of course dietitian. You had privileges in that sense, maybe that those of us who are not, I'm assuming,
it's not completely foreign language to me.
Yeah.
And second of all, I have been very blessed with a supportive network around me. So I have a sister-in-law that has followed closely everything and discussed it with me, and we've considered options together. We've bounced around ideas. She's been very helpful. I have friends, nurse practitioners and otherwise, that have been very, very helpful in also discussing different things with me. So, and we have a network of friends that are in the medical field. So I've been very fortunate, and I'm not afraid to ask for ideas or thoughts or opinions on it. So I believe self-advocacy is one of the most important things you can do, because the truth of the matter is no one is more interested in your health than you are. And with the busy health professionals today, it's pretty easy to get overlooked, and you know your body best. You know what you're willing to do, what you're willing to experience. And I do think that it's very important for you to be involved in it. I don't walk into a doctor's office and just do whatever they say. I ask them what my option. I want to hear what they think is the best option for me, but I want to know what all my options are. And then I will weigh those and think about them and pray about them and consider them. And then I will make a decision about what I want to do next, or what I'm willing to do next. So that is a little different, I think, for many physicians, and some take it better than others, to be honest.
Your voice, you were wondering why you didn't have a voice, and then you find out that the lung cancer has affected your voice. How does that work? How did that work? And how did you get your voice back?
Okay, very good questions. I can tell you that as someone who has loved singing my whole life, to lose my voice was pretty traumatic. And no one fully knows, but what we believe is that the cancer had metastasized to the lymph. The laryngeal nerve was impacted, and the laryngeal nerve then is what controls your voice, and so took away my voice. And when I flew back east and saw a specialist there, he said that he had almost never seen a voice come back, because I said, well, will it come back when those lymph shrink down? And he said, I've almost never seen that happen. He said, go get your voice fixed. You're going to live longer than 9 months. So that was one of the best pieces of advice I got at the beginning. And so I came home. The Lord had already gifted me with an appointment to a phenomenal otolaryngologist, and I scheduled surgery for an implant on May 1st of 2015. And
quite soon then.
Yes, so I was back east in March, and on May 1st I had the implant put in, and then I could talk to you again, which was wonderful.
And how much practice with this new voice box? Now the nerve has been severely damaged by the metastasis or the lymph associated with that nerve. How do you an implant? Tell me about that.
I was awake through the entire surgery because he needed to test things while he was in there. And so, you came out of the surgery basically with the ability to speak. Now, I have had some speech therapy which has helped. They did tell me my voice would be lower, and it is, and that I probably wouldn't be able to sing again, which has been primarily true. So, but I can speak, and I can talk on the telephone, and I'll never be able to holler. That's not all bad. But yes, it's been a gift, and I don't think people realize how much a gift their voice is until it's gone. So.
Well, we're just so honored to hear your beautiful voice, being able to speak here on this interview to tell us about Donna, and I consider you as one of those very special walking miracles. And you're not going to deny that category, are you? So, and the reason why, maybe you could just elaborate why those of us who have known of your cancer fight, why would they consider that you are amazing?
Well, I am very fortunate and I'm very blessed because the survivorship of the diagnosis that I was given is generally less. When I was diagnosed in 2014, less than 5% with that diagnosis lived 5 years.
1 in 20.
Less than 5%. And so consequently, I mean, you don't know. You don't know how you're going to respond to treatment. You don't know how well your body will handle treatments. So many different things. You don't know how the metastasis is going to work or go, how it's going to affect things. And I was told that it's not usually the lung cancer that takes you, it's the metastasis that takes you. So it's just been an interesting navigation, but I am happy to say that lung cancer research has slowly picked up speed, and in the last 5 years, we are actually approaching 15% survivorship for 5 years. So I feel very fortunate because every single one of my sisters that I've known on this journey with me with a similar diagnosis to me, and I've known 4 of them now, none of them are still with us. And they were diagnosed either, one gal was 1 month before I was, and the others have been since I was diagnosed, and sadly, none of them are still with us. So I do feel like the Lord has given me extra time, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, we'll take a break, Donna, and we'll be right back with Donna Chinn talking more about surviving and living with cancer. I'm talking with Donna Chinn, and the subject today is living with cancer. And Donna, again, it's wonderful to have you here on Valley Viewpoint. The statistics are that I guess the chances for me of having cancer is like 1 in 5. Is that kind of where, as you studied as a nurse and in your background, there's a chance that many of us will have cancer, in other words?
That's true. I do not know the exact statistics, but I do know that it is becoming more and more common, seemingly.
And you and I last talked about one of your recent procedures this year, this spring.
Yes.
Talk to us about how you sensed the Lord brought you through that, and the uncertainty of what you woke up to after the procedure.
Okay. So let me just go back just a little bit, because one of the things that we were talking about earlier that may be of interest is some of the procedures that I have had done besides chemotherapy and radiation. I have had several surgeries. First was my vocal cord implant surgery, and then it was followed by a craniotomy. I had 2 lesions on my brain that were radiated, and then over a period of time, they created some challenges for me to continue with chemotherapy. I needed to have them out because they began to become irritated. We call it treatment effect. And so I ended up having one of those lesions removed, And then after a period of time, they felt like I was doing well enough that they wanted to radiate the tumor in my lung, which was also something that initially they would not consider. When they radiated the tumor in my lung, immediately the mets to my right kidney became an issue, and I asked to have the kidney removed, which is also unconventional. But I said, 3 strikes, it's out. I'll spare you the details of the 3 strikes. But they conceded because my disease seemed under control, so they took out my right kidney. That was January of 2018. And then I had actually an 18-month reprieve from chemo. When you are diagnosed like I was, they basically perceive that you will be on chemo for the rest of your life as suppressive therapy. They don't have cures for lung cancer, stage 4, but they do have suppressive therapy to kind of slow down its growth and metastasis and to give you some quality of life. And so in order to go back on suppressive therapy, when they felt like I needed to, which was last December, again, the other lesion on my brain began to flare up and create problems. And so in March, I went and had that lesion removed. So the craniotomy was just recently, just under 2 months ago. And the recovery from that one has been rapid, and I've done well. And I'm back on suppressive therapy, which is a daily chemo pill, and doing very, very well. I'm very grateful. My energy and my just my quality of life right now is very, very good. I am in the process of rebuilding some of my strength, because that gets lost in the process of treatment oftentimes, because things will knock you down and then you got to get back up and work at it again. But that's really where I'm currently at, is just enjoying a bit of a reprieve again. Even though I'm on suppressive therapy, the dose is low enough that the side effects are minimal or really almost none. So I'm grateful, very blessed, very thankful.
As a dietitian, what do you recommend for those that are fighting cancer and taking chemo, for example?
I will tell you that when I was first diagnosed, one of the first things that I was told was that I had to avoid all whole grains and fresh fruits and vegetables, because it would conflict with my chemotherapy. And I said at the time, that would be completely inconsistent with my personal belief. I don't think I can do that. So luckily I did talk to one of the pharmacists of the particular medication that they put me on initially. And he looked through it and he says, Donna, he says, I can't see any reason why you can't eat your whole grains and your fruits and your vegetables. He said, I don't see any contraindications here for this chemo and that. And I said, good.
Yeah, since
That's
it's part
good.
of your belief system.
That is kind of how I've always eaten, and I wasn't ready to change it, especially in the face of my diagnosis. And I felt like what I do know about some of the research and tumor growth and what turns tumor cells on and off, having to do with some animal products, just meant that I could not, in good conscience, choose those. So I've never been what I call a purist, but I will tell you that I minimize my intake of that. And that has been a conscious choice for me, and something that I choose to live with. So some people think it's strict. I consider it quality of life, and that I'm still here, I'm grateful for. So how much it has to do, I don't know. We'll only know on the other side. What part is the Lord's blessing, He's decided that, I'm still to be here for reasons I don't fully know. That He's just, that the people that have come into my life to bless me, to lead me to specialists and individuals that have completely supported my journey from places unexpected, truly. I don't even know how to tell you. It's just one of those things where people know people, and anyway, I just feel very, very fortunate to have that support from friends and family. I've had friends tell me about individuals and get me in contact with them. Very early on, I ended up talking to a physician that was one of my father's students. And he is an oncologist now, and he was phenomenally supportive of me. And I said, I don't even know the questions to ask. I said, I don't know enough about this diagnosis to know the questions to ask. And he said, run everything by me. And so I did for the first several months. And he would say, ask this, do this, ask this. So that was incredibly supportive for me. I needed that. And then I started developing more of an understanding. I, researched. It didn't feel quite as much like I was drinking from a fire hose anymore. I started to kind of understand the disease and the process and what I was looking at. And so eventually I didn't need him holding my hand anymore, but what a gift that was. But he ended up connecting me with one of the physicians who had actually put out the very first targeted chemo. And I flew back and saw him. And he's the one that told me to get my voice fixed. And so the journey just keeps going.
And having that voice fixed enabled you to keep your mind in a powerful position, in a sense, being able to speak and communicate. Because I remember something about that you had talked to a physician that you knew in college years that was known, and maybe that was the oncologist, but he told you about how important the mind is in fighting any cancer. Do you recall what you said?
I don't recall what I said, but I will tell you that I believe that positive just being positive is just phenomenal. And like I said before, I just feel like the gift of peace was given to me. I don't think naturally that comes to people, but it was given to me. I never felt significant angst about the diagnosis. I was like, tell me what I have and let's face it.
So the question, why me, was short-lived?
Okay, we'll go back on that one too. I listened to some friends speak on their cancer journey before I was ever diagnosed. And one of the things that profoundly stayed in my mind was when I heard them say, we could have said, why me? But we said, why not me? And so when I was diagnosed with that, instead of going into the why me mode, I immediately said, well, why not me? I don't know why me, and I won't know why me until we get to the other side. But for now, I just never really, I think that really was helpful for me to think in that. I mean, it's just sometimes it's turning upside down the way you think and just going, well, I could say why me, or I could say, well, why not me?
I can hear a strong spiritual confidence in the resurrection of Jesus and that he's capable of resurrecting Donna at any time when he returns, and however this works out. Who gave you that? It's a gift, as you said.
It is.
It's from God. Were there the people you have been around have been apparently believers?
I was raised by some very strong believers. My parents are both individuals who brought me up believing in the second coming of Jesus and as Jesus as my friend. And I can honestly tell you that I'm grateful for that. I am surrounded by some wonderful sisters at church. They're the ones that immediately, when they heard my diagnosis, arranged for an anointing to happen at my home. It was all happening so fast, I was a little bit dizzy, I admit, but graciously put it all together, and it was wonderful and meaningful. And then I had a group of girls that studied the Bible together. And in support of me, they began coming to my house, because in those first few weeks and months, I was not well enough. The treatment actually made me the sickest. And I was not well enough to go out and about. And sometimes your immune system is so compromised from the chemotherapy or the other treatments that I wasn't able to go out. And so they came to me, and we continued our Bible studies. It was wonderful.
Donna, I'm sorry we have to leave it at that point, but it's a great place to leave it. Thank you for joining us on Valley Viewpoint to share where you've been and where you are at today.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on this journey with Donna today. I'm Roger Johnson.